Hello. All right, good. This session is not going to be very long. It's a very brief session. Even down in Colombo, it happens the same way. And then most of the testing will be from the first session. The NPVs and the paybacks and cash flows and maybe a little bit of sensitivity analysis and so on. But here it's more for your knowledge to take your understanding to a much higher level, MBA discussion. Maybe if you want to do your research in this area, probably this would probably provoke your thinking. Here is the decision-making process in capital budgeting. If you are looking at only a single project, in evaluation, so basically the question we ask is, can we accept the project or not? So the type of question we ask is, can we accept the project? That's the type of the question we ask. So if our question is like, can we accept the project? Then our decision making process would be, it has to have an NPV of more than 0, a profitability index of more than 1. Profitability index means your NPV divided by the investment. So NPV dividing by the investment. Then it's all in the extra notes. Then the payback has to be before the end of the project, you have to pay back somehow. Then IRR, MIRR has to be more than the cost of capital. Otherwise you will get a positive NPV. And if you go by the NTVs, it's more than 0. If we are selecting a project out of a set of mutually exclusive projects, then the type of question we ask is, which project is better? Which project is better? So it's a selection of a project out of a lot. Yeah? So we do NPVs for all the options and we pick the highest or the lowest payback, highest IRR or the highest NTV. So the first type of question is that we are faced with a project and we do not know whether to accept the project or not. Now, if you go back to our examples, this tender, we didn't know whether to quote for the tender or not. So we did an NPV to find out. And that's a single decision. There could be a situation where you are faced with many options and you want to now understand which option is better for you. Then we do NPV for each option and pick the highest NPV. So 2 decision-making criteria, depending on what your final outcome is. Then some interesting mathematics. If the same cash flow is occurring over a long period, right? Same cash flow is occurring over a long period, like in this project. Now what happens is your investment is different, but after that it's the same cash flow. Same cash flow. So you can take the longer method by taking the discounting factor. In this case it's 12%. and applying the discounting factor one by one and calculating the present value for each aspect. Yeah? Or you can take a shortcut rather than writing this 20,000 5 times over and multiplying it with different numbers. What you can do is you can just sum up all this and multiply it by a 120,000. Yeah, you can sum up all this. Multiply it by a single 20,000. So if you mathematically sum up all this, you will get an answer of 3605. Add all this, 3605. So why write this 20,000 5 times over and multiply it by 5 discounting factors? Why not we add all these 5 discounting factors and multiply by a 3605? You get the same answer. Few things change. Instead of using discounting factors, now we are using accumulated discounting factors. Accumulated, added up discounting factor. So we call it by a different name called cumulative factors. Cumulative factors. So we call it cumulative factors. Yep. Why do we call it the cumulative factors? Because it's the added discounting factors. All discounting factors added up. Discounting factors added, we call cumulative. Yes?
Can I ask one question about in this particular scenario, the investment is 60. Out of 60, we gain 30%, sorry, 33% return each year. Those return also we are investing again or reinvestment. Why we are not calculating that outcome of reinvestment factor?
Where are you investing this? Where are we investing this?
Maybe in the same business or diversified business.
How sure are you that it can be invested at the same returns? Now if that money is invested in another project, then you have to do another NPV for that project, taking the cost of capital of these funds as the IRR.
Okay, in that scenario, the second year 20,000 return is including the initial 60,000 plus second year gain.
Just 20,000.
Then what would be happen to that gain 20,000?
That's the management discretion. They can either keep it in the company or invest in another project.
But that amount of return from the particular 20,000 will not be calculated.
Not into this project.
But
what you are going to do with that 20,000?
have some gain, no? At least bank interest on
that is not considered into this project. Okay. What you are going to do with that 20,000 in the future is not part of this project. And here we are trying to compare the cost versus revenue. So we accumulate this and call it accumulated factors, cumulative factors. So the 3.605 is actually the manual addition of these. Yeah. Are we connected to the net? This 3.605, either you can take the discounting factors and add up, right? Or you can use tables from the internet, right? If you Good. Now say, let me show you the same 3.6. If I type cumulative factors, Yep. Cumulative factors, images. I'm sure I'll get the facts. Alright, cumulative factors. Yep, this should be okay. Cumulative factors. No, that is cardiovascular. What am I trying to open? Right? Trying to open a can of worms. Right. Cumulative factor tables. Very easy. That's why I was wondering, how can it be such a complicated thing? Right. Yeah, I have a cumulative factor table. If I open it further, now what I have given you are the discounting factors. I haven't given you the cumulative factors. So you can Google and find out the cumulative factors. Now here we have the cumulative factors. Now in those cumulative factors, at 12%, 5 years is 3605. Yeah, you see this? 12%, 5 years is 3605. Just got it from the net. But you need to be careful which factors are you using. What I have given you is the discounting factors, but what I am showing you now are the cumulative factors. So you need to get the right one. So 3605, if you can remember, 3605 is the cumulative factor here. So we know two ways of doing it. Number one, we either go to the net and take it, or we take the discounting factors and add it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, add it.
Cash flow should be the same, right?
Yes, absolutely. For that to happen, the cash flow should be the same. See, same cash flow. Else, you can disconnect now. Else, you can work out the cumulative factors through this very simple formula. Cumulative factor is 1 divided cost of capital minus 1 divided cost of capital multiplied by 1 plus cost of capital to the power number of years. 1 divided cost of capital minus 1 divided cost of capital multiply 1 plus cost of capital to the power number of years. Now if we adapt the same numbers, let's see whether we get 3605. Our cost of capital is 12% and number of years is 5. Let's see whether we get this answer 3605. So then you will get to know the third method also. Right, what is the calculation? 1 divided by cost of capital, 0.12, minus 1 divided by cost of capital, 0.12, into 1 plus cost of capital, 1.12 to the power 5. See, it's not as difficult as we think. I'm sure you will get 3605, get a confirmation from one of the participants. I'm sure you'll get 3605. Yes, no? Nobody has a scientific, I think, huh? Nobody has. So we wait till someone gives us a confirmation. scientific.
Yeah.
Yep, all good? Fine, we get 3605 confirmation.
3.604776.
3.604776 rounded off to 3605. Yeah. Now, why did I bring this example up? You might have thought this is a little silly, same cash flow 5 times over, why do you have to undergo all this pain? We can just do it 5 times and do it like a normal one, like this. Why I brought this example to you is to take an approach to introduce this formula to you. Cumulative factor, cumulative cumulative factor, provided, like someone said, the cash flow is the same for any number of years, for any cost of capital, this is golden formula. What is that? 1 divided cost of capital minus 1 divided cost of capital, 1 plus cost of capital to the power of 1. Yeah? Good? Good. Now, after the classes, when you go home today, what's your name? Champika. Now, Champika is going home today down Sheikh Said Road. Sheikh Said Road? Nah, he doesn't go down Sheikh Said Road. What's the road you're going to?
Emirates Road.
Emirates Road. He's going down Emirates Road. And some angel from the sky is coming down, stopping Champika's car. Huh? Right. And he gives Champika a wish. And he says, Champika has been a good person, has he? Yes, right, he has been a good person and he has not done any sin, so this person has come from heaven. And what this person says is, we are going to pay you 20,000 dirhams for a year until 5 years. No, he's a nice guy, so let's give him more. Lifetime. He's even a better guy, let's give him more. Until this world exists. Meaning, upon Champika's death, he can transfer this to his children, and his children can transfer this to his grandchildren, and until this world ends. We don't know when. How much? 20,000 dirhams for a year. Not during his lifetime, until this world exists. And this is transferable to his family only. Yeah? Good? Your family? Yeah, good. So, but there's a teeny problem. There's a small cash flow shortage in heaven these days. In order to make this wish confirmed, Champika has to pay 200,000 dirhams immediately. So will you take this?
Like a scam.
Oh yeah, it's like a scam, let's say, right? But you can trust this person, right? Not that he'll take the 200 or he or she will take the 200,000 and vanish. You can trust this, so don't have any doubt about the payments. So if you just leave it for a while and say that there's no doubt about the payments will come, will you take this? That you pay 200,000 upfront, you will be paid 20,000 forever until this world exists. Sounds a good one. Until this world exists, Champika's children's children never ends. What do you think?
consider discount effect.
Here we go. Now you are talking. Maybe earlier you would have said yes, but now you are giving a very clever answer. We have to do the discounting factor. So how do we do a discounting factor? Champika will have to pay 200,000 immediately. Here we go, 200,000. At a present value of 200,000. Let's say Champika has to borrow this money in order to give this, or he can invest this money in Sri Lanka at 12%, so his opportunity cost is 12%, so we will take 12% as our cost of capital. And what Champika will get is 20,000, but forever. Forever. So only thing missing in this whole calculation is what is the cumulative factor for 12% forever. What is the cumulative factor? 12% forever. So if we know this, we are good. He had to pay 200,000, that's a minus, but he will be getting 20,000 forever. What is that? And that's where this little formula comes very handy. 12% cost of capital, forever, infinity, forever. Infinity. Yeah? 12%, 12%, 12%. Yeah? Any mathematicians who can help us sort this? Engineers? Yeah. With this infinity coming in, the whole section becomes why is that? For the benefit of non-mathematicians, anything more than 1 to the power infinity is infinity. Anything more than 1 to the power infinity is infinity. Any infinity multiplied by any number is infinity. 1 divided by infinity is 0. I repeat, anything more than 1 to the power infinity is infinity. Infinity multiplied by any number is infinity. 1 divided by infinity is 0. So this whole section becomes 0. And what is left would be, the column 0 number, what is left would be 1 divided by 0.1. And 1 divided by 0.12 is 8.33. Would you believe that this offered to pay you forever, not only for your lifetime until this world exists, at a 12% discounting factor is only 8.33 times. Can you believe this? The power of discounting factor. You thought that you hit the jackpot and all sorted. It's only 8.33 times. Okay. So 8.33 into 20 is what? 160, 166-ish. So actually Champik is going to lose out. So he's not as good as we think. Yeah?
33.
33.
33.
He's losing out. Don't take this offer.
Angel.
I'm sure you.
It's a scam from heaven.
Yeah, scam from heaven. Now, if you are not convinced with this 8.33, I can actually help you convince yourself by going to Bill Gates. Now, see what we do here. We do 20,000. Yeah? And we do here 1, 2, 3. And let's do this for not forever, let's do this for 500 years. Yeah? Let's do this for 500 years. This is fun. Right. So why forever? Let's do this for 500. Good. 500. Right. Now what? This is my cash flow. Cash in actually. And all what I need is a discounting factor. I'm not going down the cumulative factor way. I'm doing discounting factor for each year. One by one I'm doing. Right? So let me put the cost of capital here. Cost of capital, I'll put 12%. And then my discounting factor would be 1 divided, open brackets, 1 plus cost of capital to the power this. So now when I pull the formula down, it will automatically complete by itself. So I will have to lock the J3. So I'll lock the J3 by dollars. Now I'm good. Yeah. Yep. Now let me pull it. 500 down. Oops. Something went wrong.
Just double
click on this.
Yeah.
No, not.
Yeah. Just highlight both and double click. Highlight both and double click.
Ma'am, I like both and
Double click on the column.
ma'am,
Just
double
double
click.
click. Yeah.
You're a genius, no?
Bill Gates.
Right. Now I need 20,000. Yes, sir. I know. Let's put a plus here. Right, and then let's do present value. Present value is discounting factor multiply and let's add this and let's do this and double click.
20,000 you have to do separately.
No, 20,000 do separately.
20,000 do separately and this double click.
No, the column F you will have to do separately.
Which one?
Column F you will have to do separately now.
Right.
Now
20,000
separately.
separately.
Yeah.
Right, sorted. Right, now you will understand that it's my cost of capital which is driving the whole, see? Driving the whole process, huh? Yeah, okay. Having fun, right? Good. Yeah. So let me switch off this torch. Right. Now, an interesting question to ask is, what's the addition of all these discounting factors for 500 years? What's the addition of all these discounting factors for 500 years? Let me do a sum. Auto sum. How much? How much? So forget infinity. Even at 500 years, this is the best you are getting. Right? And what's the addition of your present value for 500 years? Huh? Again, after 500 years, I get balled that. Got it? For infinity also we got 8.33. For 500 also we got 8.3. Let's check for 300 years. Let's check for 300 years. 300 years back. Right. 300 years back. Here and here. Right, 300 years. Three hundred years, what am I getting? What am I getting for 300? 8.3. Again, 500 200 no value addition. Let's do for 100 years. Let's do for 100 years. What do you get?
50 years.
Again, after 100 years, they are kauru monna promise ekak dunna. But after 100 years, just ignore it. Its value is. Let's do 50 years. Let's do 50 years. Make a guess for 50 years. 8.30. Again, a value addition from 50th year to the 100th year is only 0.03. What is the learning? After the 50th year, any promise given by anybody for a future payment, what? Write off. Got it? Let's do 30 years. Fun, huh? $8.45. 50 years, 8.30. So this is 0.25. After the 30th year, anybody giving any promise up to the 100th year has only a 0.25 value. Who is giving you promises down to 30 years? Very good. Insurance. Maybe you give any insurance company guys here. Life insurance, especially if you take a life insurance at a young age and say that at your retirement we'll pay you this, that and the other, painting very rosy pictures. Be very careful. To put same formula at your cost of capital. You must be having some cost of capital, no? That cost of capital, you need to do the cash flow. Right? I can remember when my son was born, way back in the year 2000. 2 days after the birth, I got a call from an insurance agent. I wonder how he got my details. Maybe the hospital leaked out the information. So he's now congratulating me for my son and all that. He even know that it's a son. And he says that we have this Sisu Dana or some education policy that when your son goes to university, we pay you $4 million. Right? So I gave him an appointment, and he came and saw me. And then he said, "How much are you paying me when my son goes to university?" He said, $4 million. So I said, "My friend, my son is just born. So when will my son go to university?" In 20 years time. So I said, "Sit down, Kila, we need to do 10-minute lesson on discounting factors, cumulative factors, make an angel story, short term. In 20 years time, when they pay my son $4 million, what can he do with it in today's terms? It came to some 60,000 rupees time. So I asked him, what can you do with 60,000 for someone's eye education? Yeah. You can go to a good hotel and spend a day and come. Yeah. Right. So time value of money, right? Opportunity cost, cost of capital, crucial. And that's the formula. So insurance guys, you need to be very careful. Right. Right. Last little point on this is if you are to pick two projects, guys, which has two different time durations, two projects, two different time durations. How do you manage that? Now here we have project A, which is running into 5 years, which gives me an NPV of 29,328. Now I have project B, which is running into 8 years, gives me a present value of 37,484. Cost of capitals are the same. Now, so which project is better if you are to pick one out of the two? A 29 million project which will give you 29 million within 5 years is good, or 37 million over 8 years is good? 29 over 5 years, or okay, from a risk perspective, always it's good to go for short-term projects and forego the capital, like what we said just before lunch. But from a financial perspective, which one is better? So technically, you should adopt the average technique. 29 over 5 years, you will divide this by 5 and try to understand the per year value. 37 by 8, you will try to divide it by 8, but you can't do it because of time value of money. You can't simply divide it by 5 or 8. You again need to bring this cost of capital into consideration. So what we do here is we take the project life, we take the NPV, we take the cumulative factor, the total of all discounting factors up to the end of the project, up to end of the project. Yep, up to end of the project. And then we calculate something called the annual value. We call it the annual equivalent, which is simply the NPV divided by the cumulative factor. And the higher annual equivalent we pick as the best project. So we can't simply divide it by 5 or 8 or a simple number. We have to divide it by the cumulative factor. Yeah? By the cumulative factor. So what's our cost of capital here? 10%. 10%. Yeah? So let's do a calculation to see whether our cumulative factors are correct. Let's take a vote to see our cumulative. Let's calculate for this. Cumulative factor 1 divided by 10%. Cost of capital is 10% minus 1 divided by 10% into 110. Yeah? Because our cost of capital is 10%. 10%. Yes?
When you calculate this cumulative factor, isn't it the cash flow should be seen?
Yes.
Yes.
Good point. But here we are trying to calculate what is the annual equal value. Right? That's a very good point. I'll come to that. That's a very good point. Let's first of all prove this. This is good. So this, if you calculate this, you will get 5, 3, 3, 4. Yeah? And if you put 5 here, to the place of 8, you'll get a 3790. Right? First of all, let's digest that and then answer this very interesting question. Now, the question he asked was, to apply cumulative factor, shouldn't the cash flows be safe? Exactly the point. Exactly the point. Now, here, very good question. Here, we are trying to ask is a 5-year project giving you 29 million good, or a 8-year project which is giving you 37 million good? Right? Actually what we are doing here is, we take the 5-year project, we take the 5-year project, and ask at year 0, what do we invest? We invest 100,000. So we have a discounting factor of 1 and a present value of 1. Then, without taking different cash flow, what if we take from year 1 to year 5 a common cash flow? We take a common cash flow at a discounting factor of 5.334. What would be the present value here to give you the same value? And that's what we are calculating. Okay. See, a varying project, we are trying to bring it to a common platform. So since we are using a common platform, we can use the cumulative factor.
What's the common?
We are asking of the 1 to 5 years, if we put a common cash flow at this discounting factor, what would be the? Good. So that's the reason why we put a cumulative factor. So the take home is, if you are faced with 2 projects, this won't be tested, don't worry. If you are faced with 2 projects with 2 different lives, with 2 different NPVs, now you are confused as to which is the best project. Is 29 million over 5 years is best, or 37 million over 8 years is best? To help out your confusion, we bring the cumulative factors in, divide the NPV by the cumulative factor, go for an annual increment. Yeah. Got it?
Can you explain it once more?
Once more, right. Good. We are faced with 2 mutually exclusive projects. Mutually exclusive means you have to pick one. If you pick one, the other had to be dropped. Right? It's like getting married. You have 2 girlfriends, but you can only marry one person or so. If you marry one, the other goes out, right? So mutually exclusive. Now, what is the project you are going to pick? A 5-year project which will give you a 29 million return, or an 8-year project which will give you 37 million return. We are confused. Which one is better? 29 million over 5 years or 37 million over 8 years? Confused.
But this is again investment in 2 different investments.
2 different investments, but NPV ඔක්කොම ගාවෙනවනේ. NPV කියන්නේ මෙතන from
correct,
here
correct. No,
already covered.
investment point of view.
Already covered. So what your focus is only the 37. Right? Focus is only the 37. And so which one is better? 29 or 37? If the durations were same, then obviously the 37, but here the durations are different. So what's the same here? We take the 2 projects or 3 projects or 4 projects for that matter, bring the cumulative factor and ask on an annual basis what gives the better return. right? Then someone asked the question, cumulative factors can be brought in only for equal cash flows, right? Only for equal cash flow. So why are we bringing this into an unequal cash flow? See the unequal cash flow? Exactly my point. What we are trying to answer here is, if we take a common factor, right? If we take a common factor for 5 years at 5334, right? What common factor will give us 37,484 NPV. And that common factor is 7,027. You can't take this because this is already considered in the NPV. So if you take a common factor of 7,027, multiplied by 5334, you get exactly the 37,484. Similarly, if you take a common factor of 7738 for 5 years at 3794, you get 29,000. So we ask, what is the common factor which gives us per annum better figures? Divided by the cumulative factor. And here the best project is to expect 29 million over 5 years. That's 7738. Got it? So this is the best project. Are you good now?
Yeah.
NPV divided by the investment.
NPV divided by investment. Okay, in that case, like none of those examples we discussed is not worth investing.
Why is that?
Because everything is less than 1. Like, I mean, if you consider the investment like 60,000 and your NPV is 12,000. So this is like, it says more than 1. So it has more than 1.
Sorry, it should be more than 0. Negative, more than 0. Just more than 0. I'll make that correction after. Good. So we are going to close the session. Net present value, capital budgeting, investment. We are going to close the session. So remember, this is the most important session in our subject here, from an examination point of view and from a knowledge point of view also. So if I summarize, take 5 minutes to summarize. Cost of capital is crucial. Everything must be analyzed in terms of cost of capital. Yeah. So cost of capital is cost of your funds, which can come in various forms. If you use more than one source for cost of capital, you need to take the weighted average cost of capital. And then in capital appraisal, we always take cash flow. No accounting adjustments, because accounting adjustments can be glorified. Cash flow, that's why in certain textbooks these are called as DCF techniques, discounted cash flow techniques. DCF, discounted by the cost of capital. CF, cash flow, discounted. DCF techniques. What else? NPV is the most comprehensive indicator, but unfortunately not the most popular indicator. Payback is the most simple indicator, unfortunately the most copy that. Cash flow is crucial. Preparing cash flow is absolutely crucial. Having prepared the cash flow, doing a sensitivity analysis is also crucial. And then identifying the time value of money, cumulative factors, infinity value, 500-year value, 300-year value, 200-year value. Understanding that any value more than 50 years is of no use, right? And then finally, if you are faced with two projects of two different NPVs, of two different durations, and having to pick one, the answer is annual equivalent. Good? Questions? Good. Close this session. And we are going to open up a very interesting session.
ඒක ඩේටා ටික දැන් මෙහෙම වෙලා 0 ටිකයි 1 ටිකයි.
එකක් වටිලා ඉස්සරහ ගියා ඔක්කොම.
Right. I'd like to show you some of the presentations done by a group in Colombo. Like I said, unfortunately we can't practice that here in Dubai, but there, after every session, after every 3-hour session, the next session the group should come and do a presentation. So after I completed capital budgeting, I got this group to present about a real capital budgeting exercise. Real capital budget exercise. Huh? So they came up with this company called ABC. Actually, they didn't want to mention details there because they took the information from some of the confidential information from the company. Actually, the company is Access International. Yeah, Access International. So they've given Access International, and then what's the strategy behind the whole process? Because after the change of government, Access International was doing such a lot of government projects, building roads, highways, bridges, sky bridges, all that. But change of government, the economy slowed down. Access International couldn't get into many government projects. So what did they do? They changed their vision and they changed their strategy, and look at their new strategy, guys, now. Since they are not getting enough government projects like roads and highways, they have a strategy to develop what? Real estate. So they are going to get into apartments and what? Office space, condominiums, all that. 3 million square feet is their strategy. Why? Because the government projects have slowed down. So they have picked up this project, a twin tower luxury housing project in Rajagiri, done by Access. Okay. Cost of capital 10.5%. Right? Two figures. Good. We have to pause this. Good. Right. Here is another very important session for us. This is important again for two reasons. Reason number one, for knowledge and application. Number two, what? What do you think?
Exam.
Exam, of course. This is question number 2. Question number 2. Right. We are going to understand. Check whether the case is uploaded. Is there a case called Malpensa Gona? Yes. Gonaya, Gongya. We call it the Gongya example. Yes, you have that, huh? Right, okay, good. Just want to do that before we start. Okay, so merger and acquisition is how two companies can work together. Some companies merge, some companies acquire the other company. Have you had experiences of mergers in your career in Sri Lanka or in Dubai? Anybody who underwent a merger or an acquisition? Yes, please. Can you share your experience?
Actually, I was working for Emirates Bank, then it merged with National Bank of Dubai. And they formed a new bank called Emirates NBD.
Emirates
NBD.
NBD. So you were working with?
Emirates Bank.
So which one was the larger party? Which one was the
Larger
smaller?
in terms of assets, it was National Bank of Dubai. But in terms of non-funded products, it's Emirates Bank. So once they merged, I think a lot of synergies were brought forth. So that's it.
When did the merger take place?
In 2009.
7 years now. How has it been? Are people talking good about it?
Once they merged, I think our market share was increased and we became the largest bank in the region. Now, of course, the places have changed. So it was mainly for expanding the market share.
Culture? How did the culture work?
Culture is also mixed. We had some programs to get along with the new culture. A lot of activities were done.
What kind of activities?
Just familiarizing with each other, and a lot of now same customers were there in the both banks. So we had to do customer orientations and these kind of things.
How did the staff get along with each other?
There were staff cuts also. And staff, initially there were frictions between the staff and departments. As we go along, things changed.
In your opinion, how long did it take for these two companies to start thinking as one company?
Within 1 year?
Within 1 year. So now there are no groups who relate to the previous companies, nothing. You all think as one company, one group. You said you have an experience.
In 2007, we formed a company called NPS Energy, which basically merged two oil and gas family-run businesses, one in Saudi and one in Qatar. They were complementary businesses in the oil and gas industry. One was doing drilling business and the other company was doing well services. And those two individuals were related through their in-laws. So the two owners decided to merge the company and take it to expansion. And they formed up a company group called NPS Energy. So I was one of the first hired in the team who basically took over the merger of the group and started formulating all the corporate governance. So one of the key challenges at the very beginning was that they were running in different ERPs, multiple banking platforms, multiple cultural issues, and sort of bring all of them into one common platform. So on the treasury side, I got really involved in centralizing the treasury operation to bring everything under one ERP and reporting structure and banking facilities, etc. On the other hand, the Qatar shareholder had a sort of higher investment in terms of the business size, so the head office was based in Doha. I was in Doha as well. The first 3 years we struggled because the Saudi company found that the priority is being given to the Qatar company, and we're just trying to report to the Qatar company. This has been run individually as businesses for 20 years by that time, as family businesses. So then the shareholders decided, no, we're going to have a head office isolated from these two locations, and formed up a head office in Dubai, which basically made life easy to shuttle between the two countries, as well as to take decisions which are sitting outside one of the operating locations. I think that was the key decision they took 3 years into the merger.
So it took them 3 years to
Eventually
understand
realized that it is not
independent head office
moving.
is required.
And then they ended up hiring the formal team like a CEO, CFO, who basically started overlooking the complete operation.
Just give me a second. 35?
Yeah.
Good? Thank you.
And since 2009 up to now, for the last 8 years, we have tripled the size of the company in terms of revenue, in terms of asset base, and in terms of profitability. And we are still, in terms of debt, we are still at the same level. So the company has had a significant growth, which we have. I can show you actually one single beautiful slide which some of our group members have seen through some of our exercises. The company went through a huge change mechanism, but in terms of management, the company brought in the expertise from the industry, like companies from Schlumberger, Halliburton, Baker Hughes, like the experts from the multinationals to try and manage it, so that they brought in the procedures in terms of financial procedures, supply chain, HSC, legal, everything got centralized, and then the expertise moved downwards, and then we ended up expanding into new territories. And now we, at the moment, at that time, since in 2009, we only had operations in 3 countries, and now we are in 14 countries across the world.
So this was a merger or an acquisition?
This was an acquisition, basically, because the Qatari shareholder went into, no, actually it was a merger, but then the two people made a private placement subsequently, and one of the shareholders exited. So only one shareholder remains now with the business. The Saudi shareholder exited only 3 years ago. So he exited after he basically made money out of his merger. So the merger happened between the two family businesses in 2007. 2.5 years ago, they had a private placement. Now we have institutional owners up to 90% of the business.
So how do you, anybody else who has experience of a merger or an acquisition? I can share my experience. Actually, one of the companies which I owned and operated in partnership was taken over by a Fortune 5 company way back in 2005, 11 years ago, almost 12 years ago. So I was the kind of the target, and predator, who is the person taking over, was a multinational Fortune 5 company. That was my first experience in acquisitions, being acquired. But after that, I was also acquired into Every Denizen, and then I managed through Every Denizen 1, 2, 3 more acquisitions. So this time I was acquiring other companies. When I say I was representing my company, acquiring companies. One company in Nigeria, one company in US. and another company in Mexico. So when every Edison want to acquire the company, they form a committee, that committee to report to the acquisition head and an acquisition team, and we go and boom, we take over companies. Yeah, that was fun. So I've been in both sides of the table, once being acquired and thrice acquiring other companies. The most interesting part of this is to understand whether there's a strategic fit and whether the two companies fit to be acquired or merged. Having worked that out, the financials come. How do you value a target? How do you negotiate? How do you value in different methods? And what values you bring into the negotiation table. So that's basically a glimpse of mergers and acquisitions. Now, why is it called mergers and acquisitions in conjunction? Anybody want to give a, because everywhere you say mergers and acquisitions. These two goes very close with each other. Why is that? Why do you think?
Merger, basically both the companies have equal say in going forward, managing. Acquisition is one is stronger and takes over, and then the control lies with one big company.
Okay. Well, it's very, very difficult to put a technical explanation on what a merger is and what an acquisition is. It's actually overlapping with each other. That's why people, to be on the safe side, call it an M&A, merger or an acquisition. You're trying to say something. Who is it? You're trying to say something. Yeah.
Can we explain to the share, the number of shares?
Right. How do you explain a merger from shares and acquisition from shares?
Exactly the
Let me draw. Yeah, you're right. Let me draw two graphics. You tell me what a merger is and what an acquisition is. Huh? Company 1, company 2. Company 1 closed down and all assets are transferred to company 2. Wait. Don't jump again. Company 1, holding company 2, both companies operate. That's a reason to hold your guns. Company 1 taking over company 2, both companies operating.
Both names or one?
Both companies operating under different names. I must qualify by saying it's very difficult to give a theoretical explanation to a merger and acquisition. But these are some of the textbooks which have done. It's like John Keel's taking over Elephant House. John Keel's remains, Elephant House remains. Both businesses operate. Merger or an acquisition? It's an acquisition. One company completely closed down, assets transferred to the other company. So what happens is that the other company with these assets coming into this company gets bigger, like Ranil said. Merger or an acquisition? It's a merge. So technically, if two companies merge together, how many companies can remain? Yeah. Acquisition, both companies may continue. Yeah? Yes?
Funny idea.
Funny idea, right? Okay, good. We like funny ideas.
Love marriage and the proposed marriage.
Love marriage and the proposed marriage. Right. What is love marriage? What is proposed marriage?
Love marriage in the sense you can that share each other and can be the one objective, one goal.
Okay.
So the proposal marriage means you always depend on the dowry and all that one on brother.
Acquired. Right. Okay. Point.
What is it from your side?
Love marriage man.
Both. It depends.
Both companies operating.
Which one?
That's the important. Both companies operate.
Are they operating individually?
Both companies operate. One in Sri Lanka, one in Dubai.
Right. Very difficult task. Very difficult task. This could be brutally wrong, what I have mentioned here. These are not my ideas. I have captured from different books. A merger is a combination of two corporations in which only one corporation survives. And the merged corporation goes out of subsistence. So technically in a merger, only one company will move forward. But in an acquisition, both companies can continue. You know? This could be 80% right and 20% wrong. Yeah. Good. Standard Chartered, yes?
Any example operating two companies?
Oh yeah, John Keel's taking over Ceylon Cold Stores, Elephant House. John Keel's is running, Elephant House is running.
But fully managed by John Keys.
Fully managed by John, but running at two different companies.
What are the general, driving factors for that? If it is not a merger?
If it is not a merger, then one company would be owned by another company. Owned and controlled, but two companies continue. Two companies continue. Now what the example what Prasanga gave, it's not an acquisition. For sure it's a merger. Because after the two banks merged, there was only one entity which is going ahead. One entity which is going ahead. Right? I'm not very conversant.
The company also mostly like Emirates entity.
Not necessarily.
Now even what Ranil mentioned was also, I think it's a merger. Two companies merged and then after that it's one entity.
Yes.
Now that's why they were so struggling to maintain this one entity, and that finally they decided to have an independent head office in Dubai. Otherwise one entity was overpowering the other entity. Can anybody give us an example of an acquisition where in Dubai, where both companies are running? One company being acquired by another company and both companies are running.
Sri Lanka Dialogue took over CBS, satellite TV.
Yes, that's a very good example. Sri Lanka Dialogue TV, they took over CBN Sat. Oh no, we have even a better example. Dialogue taking over Suntel. Both companies operating. Maybe they changed the name from Suntel to Dialogue CDMA. The brand name is changed, but company as an entity is there. That's a good example.
Even SLT Mobitel?
Yeah, SLT Mobitel, SLT, owned Mobitel, both are running. So that's an acquisition. So what happened here, guys? You think Standard Chartered Greenlace is a merger or an acquisition?
That's an acquisition.
It's an acquisition.
It's a merger.
They took some
Whom by whom?
Any set close.
Standard Chartered actually merged with ANZ Greenlace, but Standard Chartered overpowered the whole process. Yeah. Actually, the Standard Chartered as an entity, it's a funny combination. Standard Chartered as an entity closed down. Would you believe this? And they transferred all their assets to ANZ Greenlace and changed the name from ANZ Greenlace to Standard Chartered for tax reasons. Can I go through it again? Standard Chartered as an entity technically closed down, and they transferred all their assets to ANZ Greenlace, and the name ANZ Greenlace was changed to Standard Chartered. Funny, huh? Right? That's how we are. Way back. When did this happen?
98.
15, 20 years, I'm sure. Definitely in the 90s. I'm sure some of young guys must have not even heard of what green lace means. Right, good.
So,
Yes?
small
Small doubt, yes.
for some reason, maybe I heard of somewhere, in a merger, like two entities come together, let's say they have two different brand names or something, and they form a new brand name. Is it a wrong concept or?
That's why I said
Yeah.
my slide could be 80% right, 20% wrong. Don't get misled by the front end. Brands can change, names can change. What matters is whether the company changed the certificate of incorporation, the legal entity changed. Now say if you take the example of Suntel being taken over by Dialog, today there's no name called Suntel, no. It's Dialog CDMA. Right? So brand name changed. The name what you and I know must have changed. But the real company exists. Like Suntel, the old company, the certificate of incorporation, that register of companies document exists. I'm not talking about the front end, I'm talking about the fundamental company. Right.
It means that it's still company registration under Suntel Lanka.
It's there. Not under Suntel Lanka, they have changed the name, but the company is there. I don't know whether they have even changed the name. Maybe the same Suntel Lanka name is there, but the brand has changed.
Name board has changed.
Brand has changed. Yes?
So there's a consultant firm called ECOM. They took over that EC Harris and Davis Lenders. They operate separately, but I'm sure they are already under ECOM.
So you think it's a acquisition?
Yes. No.
It's a merger.
It's merged.
Good. Right. In 2002, one of the largest mergers took place in the world. One of the largest mergers. Actually, this I think is still the. No, it's not the largest in the world now. It's in 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, maybe about within the top 10, top 20. Where is it? Comcast being taken over by AT&T. Comcast being taken over by AT&T. But a funny thing happened. Even though Comcast was the purchaser and AT&T was purchased, Comcast lost controlling interest in. Right? And we are going to spend some time trying to understand this example. Comcast merged with AT&T. Yeah? Can you go through this slide carefully and tell me which company was closed down and which company survived? Which company closed down and which company survived? What do you think, guys? Who closed down? Comcast closed down. AT&T continued. Who said no? You said no? Huh? Who closed down? Who continued?
AT&T closed down.
AT&T closed down and Comcast continued. Why do you say AT&T closed down?
Because shares is issued, they got 3.25
Yeah,
They
of
offer
course.
shares from
AT&T shareholders received 0.32 Comcast share for every AT&T share they owned. So who gave up their share certificates? Now the answer to your question is not the brand name, it's not about whether it's called Suntel or Dialog CDMA or... It's about who is giving their share certificates for cancellation. Boom, cancel. Got it? So who gave up their share certificates for cancellation? AT&T. Which one is the larger company? AT&T. But for every AT&T share, they got only 1/3 of a Comcast share.
Business valuation.
Comcast is larger, huh? Guys, this sounds very confusing, huh? Gregory? No, very confusing, no? Right?
56% of AT&T.
Gregory, who is the larger company here? AT&T is the larger company. But for one AT&T share, they received only 1/3 Comcast share now. For one AT&T share, they received only 1/3 Comcast share.
value of the
Comcast
share
is
is
owned by 56%.
Ranil, help us sort this out.
It's because of the value of the share?
The
Number of shares.
Ah, brilliant. Tell me more about it. Whose number of shares are more and whose number of shares are less?
AT&T's number of shares are more.
AT&T number of shares are? Very good.
Then
Share price is not a comparison, guys. Let me put the basics right. Share price is not a comparison. It's the total cake what matters. It's the total cake what matters. Now here what happened was, it's a 72 billion merger and the value of the company, this is very nice case study for us to learn a lot of things. Let me give you the exact value. It's a 72 billion merger. AT&T, let me draw the AT&T circle. It's a 40 billion company. 40 billion company. Comcast, let me draw the Comcast circle a little smaller. Does it look small enough to you?
yeah, 32.
It's a 32 billion company. Now let me write the two names. AT&T Comcast. Right, Gregory, who's the larger company now? AT&T or Comcast? AT&T. Huh? By virtue, the value of the company. See? Right? By virtue, the value of the company. Now let me give you one more fact. One more fact. Comcast at that time had a billion shares. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 shares. What's their share value? What's their share value? Per share value. Their share per share value is per share is $32. Anyone has a problem with that? It's a 32 billion company holding a billion shares. Per share is 32. Are we all good? Anybody has a confusion there? No. Right? Nobody has a confusion there. AT&T had 3.8 billion shares at that time. And having more shares is the internal company decision. Correct? How many shares you have is a completely board of directors decision. It's like this, guys. You have a cake at home. Think of a cake at home, guys. Visualize a picture of a cake at home. Everybody, are they visualizing it? Right. Gregory, are you visualizing a cake at home? Yeah? Right? Okay. Now cut the cake into 4. Think of a size. Are you there? All together? Right. Now cut the cake into 10. Think of a size. When you cut the cake into 10, the share value is smaller. When you cut the cake into 4, the share value is higher. But the cake is the
Same.
What matters is the cake. See, I have drawn the cake there. And to how many pieces you cut it is your call. If you want more pieces, you can cut it into 1,000 pieces, but the value of a piece will be minute. Or if you want, you can cut it into 2 and you 1/2 and your wife 1/2. No problems. Got it? So for how many pieces you cut is irrelevant. What matters is, guys, the size of the cake. So AT&T decided to cut the cake into 3,864 pieces, whereas Comcast board of directors decided to cut the cake into 1,000,000 pieces, which are their internal decisions. Now see how the mathematics work. Got it? Can somebody tell me the per share of AT&T now?
Like
1.035.
Can't be
10.3.
10 point.
10.3.
$10.35. Now do you see the 1 to 1/3? When you surrender your share certificate, cancel your share certificate, how much are you surrendering? You are surrendering 1035. And how much should you get? You should get 0.3235 of the new share, which is $32 into 0.3235. And you don't lose any value, you get the same value. But look at the sheer size of shares. 3,864,123 shares. Each share certificate surrendered, you get 0.3235 shares. How many new shares is this? Guys, how many new shares is this? How many new shares is this? 3,864,000 shares. 1 billion? Multiply this. How much is 3,864? 1 billion?
250. 125. 0040.
1 billion, 250 million, 4,000.
400.
Now who has the control? AT&T former shareholders is now holding 1,250,000,000 Comcast shares. Comcast guys are holding still
1 billion.
all Sarah Harry hoida. So who is controlling? Who is controlling? AT&T is controlling 56%. Amazing, no? You look stunned
Yeah.
to me.
Last
Ask any amount of questions.
part can you
What last part is this?
After you calculate the share values, how you?
Are. Imagine, what's your name? Kirti. Kirti, imagine you are AT&T shareholder. You have a share certificate. What's the value of your share certificate? 1035. So when you surrender this, you are getting 1/3 of a $32 share. Are you happy? Are you losing money?
Yeah.
Are you losing money?
No.
මේකෙන් මේක බාර දුන්නාම මේකෙන් තුන එකක් හම්බ වෙනවා. සල්ලි මුකුත් ප්‍රශ්න නැහැ. So now Kirti, you have only one certificate, and that certificate you surrender and you get 1/3 of a Comcast share. Right? Now let's say your wife has 386400000 share certificates, and she's going to surrender all these. How many new share certificates will she get from Comcast?
1/3.
1/3. 1/3 නෙමෙයි 32, 35. So when she surrenders all these 3 billion shares, she gets 1,250,000 new shares. Representing what company? Comcast. You have just surrendered your share certificate. Now you and your wife together are holding 1,250,000,000,000,000 what shares? Comcast shares. And the existing Comcast shareholders are holding
The original
a
one.
billion shares. So who can control the company?
You and my.
Still confused?
No.
No. Anybody else confused? So very complicated merger, but very interesting. Are you good? You can ask any other questions from me. Oh, you can. Where's the problem? Where's the confusion? All good?
How did you arrive at 40 and 32?
Right. At the end,
At the end, if you see, it's again boiled down to the share price. And it took the share price of a existing share of a company which getting merged.
Very good.
And then took the relation with the new company share.
Very good. Guys, you say finally it boiled down to 35 and 32. Yeah. Let me ask you a different question.
That is from the total company network divided by number of shares.
Yeah.
So they took a piece value.
What matters is the cake size. Yes. How did I come up with number of shares? I didn't come up with number of shares. The board of directors, they come up with number of shares. My decision anyway.
No, how did you come up with that number?
How did
3,864,000 I think they are probably asking.
Mega.
Yeah, that's from.
Mega.
That's from the case study.
I have read this case million times.
So that if that number was less, then it would have been a situation where the Comcast has the control.
Very good. We have interesting question. Come, guys, we have interesting question. If that number was less, listen carefully. If that number was less, would Comcast take control? I'll answer this question. No. I'll show it to you.
Share value is up.
Let's less this number, Kirti, let's less this number by a digit. Now you have 1/10 less shares in the company. Shares එක digit එකක් අඩු කරොත්, remember the cake size is the same. Cake is the cake. More than the share price. Share price will go up to 103. Now when you surrender a share certificate, what is your lost value? Your lost value is 103.5. එවනම් මේ වගේ shares කීයක් හම්බ වෙන්න ඕන?
103 divided by.
Earlier you got 1/3 of a share.
3.2.
දැන් මේ වගේ shares කීයක් හම්බ වෙන්න ඕනද? 3ක් හම්බ වෙන්න.
So you still
Now when your share certificate is surrendered, you are surrendering $103. And to compensate your $103, 32 एवा क्या काम करना? Are there? Right. Can somebody give me this ratio? 103 to 32?
3.24.
3.24. 3.23. तमाम digit टा काढू करना कीर्ति में. But even what I isara ambune what a 0.3235. Then what ambune 3.235. Ultimately you get the same. Yes?
So when the company merge, the share price will go up.
Merge share price can go up, can come down.
Because the number of shares will be 200, 2.2. So the merge value will be 40 plus 37. So then to get the share price, it should be 72 divided by 2.2. The share price might change.
Might change after the
same $32.
synergy secure. Yes. Guys.
Why are we getting this so complicated, going and all that? Because when you compare the companies,
56%.
yeah,
Yeah.
like the 40 and 32.
Yeah.
So these guys obviously have the huge amount.
Of course. Yes.
It's a simple thing.
Yeah. But I was trying to explain. Of course. But look at the process. Look at the process. One will have to hand over the share certificates. Share certificates will have to be cancelled. I was explaining the process. But the fundamental is, guys, we have two cakes. One cake is larger, one cake is smaller. Obviously, the larger cake will take control. How many pieces you cut it and all that. Here? Who has a problem?
Can we explain the same thing in the terms of acquisition, the same scenario?
Acquisition ने मुकुट देने हैं. मैं acquire करना है. And both companies will live happily ever after. में मुकुट देने हैं.
What would be the share? Nothing will be changed.
Kaurut किसी में no share certificate will be surrendered. That's the technical difference between a merger and acquisition.
What about the share price difference?
Then both parties will have different value of shares.
Their own value of shares. But the acquisition, there can be synergies, no? When synergies for the share price is very good.
Okay, in the real life, the share market will have two different shares.
Okay.
Under two different companies.
Under two different companies.
Under two different companies. It will not change. Even after merging also it will not change.
Merging, yes.
Now you are talking about acquisition.
Merging, it sense.
That's what it was in my mind.
I think you have now got a fantastic understanding between merger and acquisition. What a merger is and what an acquisition. All good? What a cup of tea, guys? Of course, yes.